Since it's spooky season, I thought it would be fun and educational to bring in some of my personal friends to talk about some of their nightmare deals. These are the kind of stories that will make you cringe, laugh, and most importantly, learn. Each investor will walk us through what went wrong in their deal, how they recovered from it, and the valuable lessons they took away. I'm Kathy Fettke, and welcome to the Real Wealth Show.
You're listening to The Real Wealth Show with Kathy Fettke, the real estate investor's resource.
Today, I'm joined by three incredible guests. Henry Washington, he is a flipper and wholesaler and buy and hold investor in Arkansas. Second is Jamil Damji, a wholesaler and co-living investor from Arizona who has definitely seen it all. And finally, James Dainard, a Pacific Northwest investor and house flipper with experience across multiple strategies. So let's dive in, if you dare, and learn from some real estate horror stories that could save you from frightful financial mistakes. James, Jamil, Henry, welcome to the Real Wealth Show. All right, James, let's start with you because I know you've got some really stinky, scary stories to tell. So what's your best?
I've seen it all. Over 20 years of buying dilapidated homes, we've definitely seen everything from human feces to bodies to pet cemeteries. But my biggest nightmare deal didn't have any bodies in it. I bought it from a nobody. It was a fake sale. Like not even real. So, I got a call from a wholesaler that I know, and he called me and he said, "Hey, look, there's this investor. He bought this property. You got to go buy on it." He took it down to the studs. City came and red tagged him. They're making him go through all this structural engineering, and he doesn't know what to do. Can you go out and look at it? He just wants to sell it as is now, which is not an uncommon call for me. I get a lot of calls. There's some hairy houses, especially from investors, get maybe a little bit too deep into a deal. So I go out there, I look at it. It is a nightmare of a house. The guy pulled it apart. It's like, actually, randomly, me and Ashley Kerr went through this house when we were at a conference, and it was just like falling apart. But the numbers worked. Bought it for $450,000. We were going to put in 200, and we were going to try to sell it for 900 on a very familiar street. And so we go in, we close, we send out our architect, we submit for permits to get the red tag fixed, and all of a sudden, I get a letter from an attorney saying, "You have taken my client's property." And I'm like, "What is this?" I was like,
what does this mean?
What do you mean this? Right? And so I call my title company. I call the attorney, and they said, "Yeah, my seller did not sell this. This has been in their family for 30 years, 40 years. It was an abandoned home, and they were actually getting ready to renovate it, and they just drove by and noticed that it's under construction. And then they tracked me down and they sent me a letter, and I'm like, dude, I didn't buy it from them at all. I bought it from a wholesaler who had contracted it through an investor." And the worst part of this whole thing is I had just done like a big video warning people about fake sales. There's a lot of scams where people make fake IDs. And I'm like breaking it all down step by step, what to look for, what not to look for. And 30 days later, I get a letter. It's like instant. But the reason I didn't catch this one, because there was, especially during the pandemic, there's a lot of people tracking down abandoned houses. You couldn't find them. They'd make fake IDs. It was all remote signings during that time. And then they would set up a fake bank account. Wire goes out. They take the money. They disappear. It's title fraud. And disaster. But it didn't have title fraud because I bought it from a different investor. He had bought the fake sale. But then what had happened, because it was 2 sales away, my title company decided to fight it. And I'm like, I don't want to fight it. Just give the house back. Give me back my money. They decide to fight it. It stretches on for 9 months. And we have to service how title insurance works. They'll cover your purchase, your loan amount, and all your costs, but they don't cover your debt cost. And so we're paying $7,000, $8,000 a month during this time. And we already paid the architect. We're paying utilities, all these things. And they stretched it out. And by the time of the end of 9 months, they just gave the property back. They unwound the sale. But we were $75,000 in the hole because of our interest carry.
Whoa.
So basically got locked up $150,000. We lose $85,000. And not only that, I had people think I stole their house. I was getting calls from the paper like, "Did you take their house?" I'm like, "I didn't take their house." It was like a nightmare.
Frontline news.
And I would just send them back my emails to the title company's attorney going like, "Give them back their house. I don't want this house." But it got stretched out. So I've seen a lot of gross things, but this one by far was the worst because we bought a ghost house, we lost money, and there was nothing we could do to get that money back.
What have you learned since then? What would you do differently, or could you do something differently?
On this one,
I mean, like, how would you know?
Yeah, well, on this one, it was so hard because we bought it from a legit seller. He bought it from a fraud. And so the only thing
I mean, like,
could really do
title
is
couldn't figure that out. I'm sure there's
well,
a lot of
because
listeners saying, I don't want that to happen to me. How do you prevent it?
well, what you should look out for, like things to look out for on these fake sales is they go to wholesalers on purpose because they don't want to go directly to an investor. It goes to a wholesaler who now handles the communication with the buyers, and they mass spam it out. Where the red flag should have
they just rope in a shady wholesaler because they're like, well, fine, if we got a wholesaler involved in here, and no one's going to expect any answers because it's a wholesaler.
Well, it's not even.
I get it.
Because it makes sense, right? Like a wholesaler gets a direct to market, they contract it, they're selling a contract.
That's
and
real.
so, like,
that's real. Yeah.
Jamil, if someone called you up and goes, "Hey, look, I got this property, I inherited it. It's in Phoenix. It is a pile of garbage. We will sell it to you right now for $400,000." And they reach out to you, you don't even think it's that uncommon, right? Because you're so well known in that market. And so,
of course,
and as an investor,
I would have fallen for that in a heartbeat, James. I honestly don't know how I would.
Everyone would have fallen for that.
Yeah.
You just got by a good okie doke. Sometimes the okie doke is too good.
Yeah, it's well, that's what to look out for though. They bought this property, that wholesaler, for like $350,000, right? Like, why is anybody selling? Like, the dirt was worth 500. And so on the first sale, there was definitely probably a lot more red flags. The other thing is when a seller won't, if they say they're out of town, they got to do remote signing, they're doing all these things, and they won't jump on the phone or FaceTime with you and like actually talk to you, and they're just reaching out and they can never meet you. You know, they had a lockbox on the door, they sent you to the property, they did all these things.
I had some relationships like this, actually.
This is a relationship?
I had some relationships like this, actually. You know, they never wanted to meet in person. They only wanted to talk on the phone. We couldn't. It was, you know. Turns out that wasn't real either.
Henry, have you been catfished?
Have I been catfished?
You've been catfished? Oh.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So Jamil, you're a wholesaler. Would you just explain what that is for our audience who isn't used to that term?
Yeah, wholesaling is where we're kind of middlemen, right? We find opportunities that are in disarray. Either there's distress in the situation, or there's distress in the property, or potentially both. And we prospect for these, deals that have some opportunity to force appreciation, and then we match those with investors like James and Henry and other people who are fixing and flipping and going vertical on a project. And so we absolutely add tremendous value to the marketplace because for the most part, people like James and Henry and folks who are really heavy in fixing and flipping, they don't have time to go and prospect a lot for their deals. Of course, people reach out to them and they get their own deals occasionally. For the most part, it's pretty commonplace for people like him to do deals with wholesalers. It's just how it works. I think one of the things that I maybe want to know here is, James, did you have a previous relationship with this wholesaler?
I did. He's a great guy.
Deal?
Nope.
Okay.
I knew him.
So you have a previous relationship with the guy.
Yeah, a couple deals. And honestly, he's a great guy. He felt so bad because he just didn't know, right? Because he contracted it from an investor. So he's like, hey, I didn't even, it was a real person.
Understood.
Yeah.
It's a thing. It's wholesalers do a great service, but this kind of situation could happen. And what's really interesting is, James, you mentioned getting on the phone with a seller or talking to a seller. As a buyer, I buy from wholesalers all the time as well. Being a wholesaler, I also deal with wholesalers and fix and flip as well. And so when is the last time I've gotten on the phone with a seller? If I'm in between, a party, if there's a wholesaler in between, I never talk to the seller. I rarely do that. And so you've just opened my eyes to so many new ways to protect myself in future deals, just to do that little bit of extra due diligence that'll keep you from losing $80,000 in debt service on a deal for no reason. That's really sucky.
Wholesalers are really important to the real estate market, right? Like, I buy at least 25-30% of my deals from independent wholesalers that I've known for years.
Yeah, I mean, on our single family rental fund in Dallas, it was almost all those properties were from wholesalers that my partner knows. Henry, thoughts? I know you do a little bit of all of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a tough situation, and like I said, if it got James, it probably would get most people. So for me, it's like you go through some of these situations. I was teasing about the relationship. It's like a lot of these people who end up in these, like if your gut's telling you something is wrong, like you've got to figure out what that feeling is and what it means. And sometimes we just get busy and we don't check every box, dot every I, or cross every T. And I would tell people, like, now, especially, you have to be more diligent because the government is shut down and the agencies that are involved with helping people fight fraud and punishing people who do fraud aren't working right now, which means fraud is on the rise in a lot of industries. And so if there was ever a time when this could happen to somebody else, it's probably now. So take what James is saying seriously. If your gut tells you something's wrong, then try to scratch that itch and figure out what's wrong. And if you can't figure it out, maybe it's worth it to let a deal go. There's more deals if you feel like something's funky. And then I guess my question would be, like, what protection do you have once you end up in a situation like this and execute a deal like this?
Well, it's all about the title insurance. That's why you always got to close something with title insurance, because I could have lost a lot more money than $80,000.
I'm amazed you got any money back. Yeah, it's incredible.
Yeah, because they had to insure both sales is what they had to do. That's why they were fighting it. And but you can always try to get an extended coverage too, where you can get more than's covered, right? And actually, I do suggest that to all flippers in general, because if something goes wrong, the debt cost does add up. So you can contact your title company, get extended coverage, get it a bigger amount, and that covers this kind of stuff. It is cost more money. And I would honestly say I don't get that very often unless it's a development deal, but that's what would really, really cover you if you want to cross every T, dot every I.
Yeah, paying that title insurance stinks, but I'll tell you what, it's worth it. But you guys, what about on the owner side? This poor little owner is just, they've just owned this property and suddenly it's sold. I know there's some services right now to help you check, but do you guys know anything about that?
It's called like title lock. You can get where they monitor all your deeds, and they'll give you updates if anything's being, because I think all the title companies report when they open a file to a central bureau, and it notifies you if something's going on. So if you think your title might get stolen, get some title lock.
Pull up the county records and check the title transactions. If you see something that looks funny, if there's some sort of deed transfer that you didn't authorize or you don't know what's going on, call a title company and ask them. We had a very similar situation recently where something looked like it was funky and changed, and we had to call the title company, and they figured out what was wrong and fixed it ASAP.
Smart. Okay, well, we've got so much to talk about. We need to move on to Jamil. I know you've done a lot of deals. Do you even know how many?
A little over 7,000.
Okay, just a few. All right. So out of that, what has been your nightmare stinkiest story?
Well, recently I've had lots of nightmare stinky stories, but recently there was one. It was actually an interesting thing that happened because it led to something good. But I buy a property from a wholesaler. Again, wholesalers are back in the story. But I buy a property from a wholesaler. I'm not in town when I purchase the property or contract the property. And I'm doing it all kind of out of state. And so I have somebody go drive the house when we're under contract, and they tell me that there's a lot of dogs in the property. And so I'm like, okay, I'll make sure that that's handled. And so I talked to the wholesaler. I said, hey, do you want to talk to the seller? I guess they've abandoned their dogs. We don't want to have to call animal control. This is, if their pets, come back and get your pets. If they need help with rehoming, let us know. Maybe we can get some people involved. I just don't want to see anything bad happen to these animals. And I'm a dog guy, right? So that really gets me moving and wanting to do something. So I'm assured by the wholesaler that the seller has taken care of the thing. And the wholesaler tells me that he goes and checks the property. Dogs are gone. I'm like, amazing. Wire the money, close on the house. And my sister now goes a week later and is about to, bring her crew and do all the things and get prepped for our rehab. And all the dogs are there. And
how many dogs?
She says 30.
What?
I don't know if that was really 30. In her mind, it was like 30 dogs. It was a lot of dogs. There's feces everywhere. It stunk. But just, it's terrible. These guys had no food. They had no water. They're stuck in a house in Arizona with no AC. Like it's just cruel, right? It's really cruel. Well, anyhow, we end up getting some people. Luckily for social media, I post about it. People get involved. They get the dogs. They're, for the most part, rehomed. I believe all of the dogs ended up getting rehomed. And so that was a real win for us. But it just kept getting worse and worse and worse with the house, right? So I end up renovating the home. Like that was, first pitfall.
Wait,
Second,
so it was Rahima?
Yeah, Rahima ended up going.
She's the one she did it?
She didn't do the dogs.
She let the dogs out?
She let them.
I was wondering.
Yeah, she did.
Finally, we have an answer to the age-old question.
She absolutely does.
Now we know who let the dogs out. Wow.
Yeah.
What that age-old question finally solved. And so we end up renovating the house, and it's just a nightmare. We have trades leaving, mid job. A couple of them ended up getting into a little bit of trouble, not like ice trouble, but like just like real life, like being knuckleheads trouble. And so we're like out money. We're doing all that. It's just, we're chasing our tail on this deal, and it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse. The timing then, as this thing is dragged on, the timing of the market starts to really get sluggish. And now I'm sitting on this thing. I'm over budget. I'm over time. I'm holding this property, and I just can't get any offers on it. And no matter how far I reduce, I get to a place where I'm willing to take a $50,000 loss. And my sister says, you know what? Why don't we think of something else? Let's just hold it. Like, why do you want to take this loss? And so, I don't really want to take the loss. But oddly enough, what had just happened in my life was I ended up meeting a family who ended up getting displaced because of a wholesale deal that my company was involved in. And they were camping out around the corner from my house, these people. And not because they knew where I lived or anything. It was just this like random happenstance that they were living in their car around the corner from my house. And I ended up engaging with them. And lo and behold, they were displaced because of an investor sale. And so long story short, we end up starting our co-living business as a result of keeping this house and having these people who are living around the corner from me in their car. We end up turning that house into a co-living home, and it ends up being the biggest win of my life because that's where I've pivoted my entire business now. I've got a huge portfolio of co-living homes. We're building a community around the country surrounding affordable housing and co-living. And so it's really interesting to me how you can have a nightmare situation that has the seeds of all of this trouble, but it ends up becoming a triumph if you find if you kind of let things play out. And that's what happened for us over there. So, really nightmarish deal. The dogs got saved. I didn't make money on the flip, but I ended up making a lot more money holding it as a co-living home. And it led me down a path that has been just very, very lucrative and impactful for me in my life.
It's one of the ultimate ways of providing affordable housing. And I think I remember you saying this story. This person was living in his car with his children, right?
Yeah, with his two kids and a wife, and they end up around the corner from my home living in a Ford Astro van, and it caught my eye because it's Astro van. I hadn't seen an Astro van since like the 90s, and so I engaged with these people, and I find out their story, and it was really sad what happened. They lived in a house for 15 years before they even had kids, and they end up having a family. Now they've been in here for so long. The landlord has really not raised rent. And so they've been really stable. And then all of a sudden somebody knocks on their door and says, hey, I just bought this house and here's a 30-day notice to vacate. And because they hadn't had their rent touched in 15 years, you can imagine how little they were paying when they went to the marketplace to see what rent costs. It was like 2.5 times where they were. and they just couldn't afford it. It just didn't work anymore. The math didn't math in their life, and they just end up living in their car. And you know what's really interesting about it is that the man put on a suit. He would wear a suit to go to work. So he's not these weren't.
They were trying.
People,
Yeah,
they were really trying. I mean, this guy has a professional job, and
wow.
and it's just it's just the way things are going in the country right now. But it was really interesting that in that really terrible deal with all the things that would have been really frustrating. And had I taken that $50,000 loss and just cut, I would have never opened a door to something that was really going to change my life. And so it's serendipitous. Also, you can find a lot of good when you try to find the gold nuggets in something bad.
Yeah. A lot of people think landlords are the bad guys, and based on the people I know, that's not the case. It's the good guys.
Nightmarish deal turned into a dream come true.
Love it.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
I bought a lot of property. This is where my brain always goes. I bought a lot of properties with a lot of animals in them, and it's definitely a sad thing. We've definitely rescued a few and got fleas throughout our office. But what does it smell like in a hot Arizona house with 30 animals in? Because we get in Seattle, but it's a little rainy.
Don't
and,
ask questions you don't
damper.
want answers to, my man.
Yours are more mildewy.
What does that smell like? Is it like simmering when it comes in?
I didn't. I wish I could have given you like a scent profile here, but I didn't end up actually visiting the house at that time. My sister, God bless her, was the one who had to bear the brunt of that terribleness. But
we all need a Remo.
Yeah, we all do. Everybody needs one like her. She is absolutely the reason why things get done in my life. There's no doubt that I would just be a man with a gray beard if it wasn't for her.
I'm guessing they were more like rocks, in Arizona versus the mildewy.
They turn rock like very, very soon. It doesn't stop the smell from happening though.
That's true.
It's still,
I can see that.
Yeah.
You get some pet urine sizzling on that slab. Everything's slab on right there too.
Sizzling. Oh, it's sizzling.
That's where my
There
brain
we go.
instantly goes. I'm a little weird.
Henry, we got Henry's awesome nightmare story.
Hey.
Let's hear it.
Oh man. Well, the first one I'm thinking about, we went through recently. We sold this house probably, 3 or 4 months ago. So it was pretty recent that we actually sold it. This was a normal run-of-the-mill flip for me. This is a house, cosmetic rehab. I paid $55,000, I believe, and we spent about $65,000 on the renovation. And we got that thing listed on the market, ended up going on the market during the wintertime. And we got offers immediately. People loved it. It was on just about a half acre, just kind of by itself, not in the neighborhood. And so we get a buyer FHA loan. They do their inspection and they ask for a few things. We fix them. And then the FHA inspector comes through and he says, hey, is this on well water? And I was like, well, I don't know. And he turns out it's on a well that I didn't know. I never checked the water. And he was like, cool. Well, is it on septic? And I'm like, yeah, it's on septic. He was like, okay, where is the well in the septic? And I'm like, well, I don't know where the well is because I didn't know.
It's the same thing.
And the septic is right here. And he was like, okay, well, he found the well. Apparently, your well and your septic have to be 100 feet apart.
I would think. I should hope.
For good reason.
This well and this septic were 30 feet apart.
Oh.
Ew.
So
how'd the water smell at that house?
We cannot. It smelled fine. Everything was fine. There was nothing to indicate that something was wrong. And so I then now knew this information. So the buyers obviously wanted to back out, but I now could not sell it to anybody else because we now knew this and it was not in compliance. And so I had to call the city and figure out what it would cost me to connect to city water. The city water tap that I would have to connect to is across the street, and the street is a double yellow line highway.
Oh,
$7,000 for the city to do the work, and I had to wait on them on their time frame to do it. Another $5,000 for the plumber to get the water to the house, and another couple grand to take care of the well in the back. So $15,000. And a few months later.
On a positive note, if that were California, you just add another zero to that.
Yeah.
So at least it was Arkansas.
Yeah.
So we had to spend about 15 grand, which was obviously going to eat into my profit. Good news is I wasn't going to be in the red, but it was just, that's a lot of money to when you're done with the project. Like, you guys know the feeling when you're done, you get the offer, you're under contract, you're about to close, and now you got to go back and do work. Oh, we were not happy. And then, like, you have to wait on the city. Like, they didn't just show up right away to do the work, right? Like, they wanted their money right away. And then I had to wait a couple of months before they showed up to do any of the work. And then they did the work and didn't tell anybody. So it had been done for a week before we actually found out that they had actually bore under the ground and connected to the tap. They just called no one. And so, I spent 15 grand. Good news is I got saved by the market. We ended up listing it on the market in summer, early spring. And you know what happens in spring versus winter. So we actually took a shot and listed it 20 grand higher and got an offer at like 25 grand higher. The house approved, the house appraised, and we sold it. So I made actually a little more than I was planning on making, even though I had to spend 15 grand. So I got lucky.
That's what doing the right thing does.
Yeah, I got lucky by the timing of the market. But I learned a valuable lesson. If you have well and septic on a house, you better make sure that they're 100 feet apart. And the next deal I bought is on well and septic. And you better believe I was out there with my
measuring tape.
I measured it online before I went out there. I measured it in person. When I got out there, she's all good. But I learned a lesson. I did not know those things, and I paid the price for not knowing it. But luckily, I got saved by the market. And then
you're so experienced. You're some of the most experienced investors that I know. And yet every day we're still learning stuff, right? I mean, do you guys feel like you're still learning?
You know what? Your guys' nightmares don't seem that nightmare. You all make money.
Well, because your margins, your market is expensive, bro. Expensive markets have expensive mistakes.
This is a cheap deal for
man,
market.
Yeah.
So now I know, though, when I first started door knocking back in my 20s, I went out with this guy and we go to this appointment and he's like, showing me what to do, right? And I remember someone offered me a glass of water, and he goes, well, you take the water. I'm like, because I was like, no. He's like, no, take the water. He's like, you always take the water, but you never drink the water. And now I know why he said not to drink the water.
Don't drink the water.
Check that well and septic, my man.
Oh,
you were drinking poo particles. Look, and then I have one more real quick one. It was a nightmare phone call to get, because we all know as a flipper, the scariest part. So I had a deal that as part of the inspection, we agreed to replace the roof, but they wanted to move in early. They wanted to move in. I wanted to close, so I was like, look, we'll just close, and I'll fix the roof. Like, it'll just be after closing. You guys will be cool with that. And so that's what we agreed to do. And you all know, like, the worst thing is if something that you were supposed to do, that you agreed to do as a part of the inspection contingency, if you don't do it, you can get your butt sued. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I got a phone call 2 weeks after we had already closed. And it was from the seller's agent. And they said, hey, are you going to come finish this roof? And I was like, what do you mean? We replaced the roof. He was like, no, half of the roof is done. There's a blue tarp on the rest of it. And it's been like that for 2 weeks. And I was like, you've got to be kidding me. He was like, we're going to take action. And I was like, flipped out. And I was like, but my roofer, he was supposed to do it. I paid him to do it. He was supposed to be out there. I was wondering why he hadn't asked me for his check yet. And so then the agent goes, is your roofer named? And then he said his name. I'm not going to say his name. And I was like, yeah. And he was like, you might want to check the news. I Googled my roofer's name. He got caught doing heroin at a hotel. And when the cops busted in the door, he took off running, took him on a high-speed chase down the freeway, crashed the car, got arrested, and sent to jail in the middle of my roofing job.
Oh, my God.
So I never heard from him. I didn't know it didn't get done. And the roof was, as a matter of fact, he didn't tarp the roof. They had to have somebody come tarp the roof because he just left it there. So I had to then call the company, get the roof fixed, and pray up and down that they didn't sue me. And I have not heard from that roofer to this day, probably because he's still in jail.
Yeah.
Drugs
Drugs is
are
a
bad,
real
okay?
thing in construction.
Drugs are bad, okay?
Hey, at least he put a tarp up.
Yeah, there you go. That's pretty thoughtful.
Could have been a whole lot worse. I thought for sure I was getting sued.
Oh man, you guys, I have so many nightmare stories. I wouldn't even know where to begin, but I would say one would be where Rich and I got invited to look at some properties in Nicaragua. I really don't advise investing out of state in huge projects that aren't built yet. I mean, out of the country. Anyway, we weren't going to do it. It was a free trip. Somebody wanted us to come out and see the project. They took us on helicopters. It was beautiful, waterfront, ocean views, surfing. Everything was fabulous. It was in Nicaragua right before there was another uprising. Anyway, they had this final party where they got everybody drunk, including us. And then they brought the contracts out. And the next thing you know, I signed one.
Oh my goodness. Are you kidding me?
It was so bad. I mean, we still could have got out of the contract because the worst part is like a few days later when we were sober, we sent the money.
James said, you take the water, but you don't drink the water.
You don't drink the water. You don't drink the water. Well, anyway, of course, that thing has never been built. And this guy is still trying to sell what we already bought. He keeps selling the same condo over and over. And one of our members of RealWealth came to me and said, hey, I heard you were involved in this project. They're selling this unit. I'm like, run, don't, because you can have such beautiful photos of what this project is going to be. But when it's out of the country, there's really not much you could do. And then ironically, one of the other investors sued the rest of us for not sending more money. So I had to actually fight against another investor and pay a bunch of money in a lawsuit for getting sued for not putting up more money on something that was never going to get built. So anyway, that's just one of many. Be very careful of large development projects in general.
Wow.
They take years and years to just to get the infrastructure in. But then when it's in another country, it's a whole nother deal. So there's one. Be careful.
Oh, man.
My goodness.
Don't get sucked into beautiful pictures.
Don't get drunk signing contracts at Nicaraguan parties.
And that, yes. All right, you guys, Henry, Jamil, James, so much fun to be together again and to see you guys.
It's good to see your faces, man. I love you guys.
Love you too. Bye. And thank you for joining me here on the Real Wealth Show. If you would like to not do stinky deals or scary deals, just go to realwealthshow.com, realwealthshow.com, where you can acquire properties at a discount and get an interest rate as low as 4% on brand new homes with nothing stinky about them, and they cash flow. Again, just go to realwealthshow.com to get more details. Or if you want to do no work and be a completely passive investor, let us deal with all the stench. Just click on the Invest tab and you can find out more about our passive investing options. We're launching our multifamily fund and our single family fund this month. And you don't have to do a thing. Just let us do the work. Again, that's realwealthshow.com and just click on the Invest button. I'm Kathy Fettke. Thanks for joining me here on the Real Wealth Show, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Views and opinions expressed in this podcast are provided for informational purposes only and should not be construed as an offer to buy or sell any securities or to make or consider any investment or course of action. For more information, go to realwealthshow.com.